Hi, I'm Danielle Pereira with Farm in the Wildwood. I have been gardening since 2014 and started my farm in 2016. I actually had a career in human resources, 7-year career. I was working as an HR consultant, and I found myself in a transition in life and I just needed something. I started a garden. And as cliche as it sounds, my thought was in that garden, where has this been my whole life? I could not push out of my mind this thought that I want to be a farmer. And everything about that thought seemed very irresponsible to me, just my whole upbringing and how hard I had worked on my career, which was totally unrelated. I had to make a critical decision about which direction I wanted to go because my HR credentials were coming up. So I decided to spend 2015 expanding my garden, honestly praying over it, and just letting myself wander a bit and deal with that thought that I just might want to change this all up and start farming. So I did, and I expanded my garden, and that garden that year just gushed. It just gushed. And I'll never forget making that decision. My stomach flipped. It was a very big decision for me just to go for it. So in 2016, I started my LLC, got Farm in the Wildwood going, knowing that it was going to be a very long, slow, messy process. Just came up with a good 10-year plan and decided that I was going to be okay with that. I knew there were going to be huge skill gaps, and I knew that if I tried to just do it all at once, I would fail. Not coming from a farming background, I needed to ask myself, what kind of farmer do I want to be? And I came to the conclusion that I wanted to grow food and build a place that was going to be a healthy place for me, for my family, for the earth, for the community around me. And that's when I really started studying, some of these agriculture concepts like permaculture, regenerative farming, eco-agriculture. I just started with hand tools and started at it with the skill set that I had, did a lot of reading, signed up for the Sustainable Ag program at Greenville Tech, and just took it a day at a time, really. I did sign up for my first farmer's market. The Taylor's Farmer's Market had started that year, and I'm glad that I did because that played a huge part in helping me to focus on the direction that the farm should go. And that was an incredible learning experience for me, just trying to figure out, how do I sell food? How do I package it? The process of growing the food, to harvesting it, to washing it and prepping it for market. I set out just to grow clean and thoughtful food for the community. And it had a lot to do with just the realities of being a new farmer, not having all the equipment, set up here, not having the ground completely ready to just grow a whole bunch of food, but also being a mom of 3 young children, making sure that they were taken care of. It was just a whole lot to come out, just my father and I, grow the food, harvest the food, get it ready for market, load up that car, set up that tent, and I found myself out on the asphalt. It's like at least 110 degree heat index. And while I was enjoying myself and the sense of community that I was getting, alongside the vendors and selling food to the community, I was coming across the situation where I had worked so hard and so long that there were times I wasn't able to finish a sentence anymore. I was just so exhausted. It really got me thinking by the end of that season, and then thinking about going into the next farmer's market season, why am I doing this? Because I didn't throw away, the career to start over, make myself vulnerable, start farming, to be so exhausted that I just had nothing left and physically couldn't even maybe sometimes finish a sentence. Asking myself why I'm doing this was very important because it made me reflect on what was motivating me to grow food. And it wasn't so much just to push out a whole bunch of tomatoes and cucumbers and make $1. I realized in that reflection that I would grow something and I wanted everybody that I knew to know how that feels like. When I grabbed onto that, that's when everything really started to transform and things started to click here. And I started doing the edible landscaping classes and opening up the farm, even though it really wasn't quite ready. We didn't have this great facility yet at all, but opened it up to like children's learning activities, brought in an art teacher to do a collaboration class, and that was when everything just really started to flow. Because that's really, I think, what I meant to do, is just not only grow clean food for our community, but also just bring people closer to the place where food grows. We grow a wide variety of vegetable crops and herbs. We also have plenty of perennial fruit crops that are just starting to produce. One of the things we've become very known for recently are our spring greens, and they're just so full of life, they're vibrant, and with the way that we farm here, there's no comparison to, that box of greens in the grocery store. I will say I have some sentimental crops. I married a Brazilian, so by marrying a Brazilian, I married into, that family and that culture. It's been very important to me to be a part of that. And I have these memories of seeing my father-in-law's garden, and it's spectacular because it's almost like a jungle. There's different plants growing there that don't grow here, and they have this little pepper in Brazil called a biquinho. That's been a really big part of being a crop, but also kind of being my love note to Brazil. The other one is I love to grow southern field peas. I just have memories of visiting my grandmother in the panhandle of Florida, and she'd have this huge bushel of white-acre peas. She'd give us a big bowl, and we'd sit there with a movie on, and we'd just shell them for hours. And then the reward was, of course, that big veggie dinner afterwards. And so I really enjoy growing the southern field peas. It just connects us to this area. Probably I'd choose those two. So my greatest challenges have been, there's several. One has been adjusting my mindset to match nature. So I came from this very busy career where it was go, 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 just, burn full throttle. And I came into my garden and started the farming with the same perspective. Nature just taught me real quick that it wasn't gonna have it. And so I think it took me a good 2 years just to rewire my brain and realize that it wasn't going to be at that pace. It was gonna be a lot slower. Working with the earth, how long it takes to grow food, in a thoughtful and a clean way. You got to learn how to grow each and every vegetable. But there's a lot of knowledge and skills behind growing food. Nature forced me to find the balance of that, because if I wasn't willing to, I would fail. I think that was a big lesson. What am I most proud of? I think I'm proud that we made the brave decision to go slow. We took our time to make sure that we were going to grow food in a way that was going to take care of the land here, my family, the community at large. Taking the time to learn, how do you grow healthy soil? What is soil? Making sure to study and find out, how do I have a farm but I don't create a runoff issue into our waterways? Being responsible, how can the ecology stay intact but I still grow food? And so I'm proud that we did take the time. We're brave enough to wait and let it work. Let nature teach us, how it wanted to work, so that we come out on the other side and we're growing a product and we're using our land in a way that is life-giving in many ways. It's been a long time coming and a long time planning and a lot of work, but we've opened our farm stand, which is open on the weekends, but also available for orders and carside pickup. And we've been able to add on a lot of other local growers and producers so that our farm stand offers not just our vegetables, but other farms' vegetables who also use, thoughtful methods in their practices. That goes back to that mission to, not just grow clean food, but bring people closer to the place where food grows, because the garden has so much more to offer than just feeding our bodies. We're just meant to cultivate the earth and have a closer relationship with it. Creating these opportunities is experiential learning opportunities for both adults and children are one way to do that. We have small little events, just little demos. We also have larger classes. We've hosted homeschool field trips, and we really enjoy it. We worked really hard on having a website that tells you a lot about us, but where also you can access all of the products and classes that we have available. It is www.farminthewildwood.com. And you can also follow our journey on Instagram and Facebook at Farm in the Wildwood.